On Saturday, August the 7th, 2010, a newly refurbished shop was officially opened in the Northumberland village of Humshaugh. Nothing special about that, you might think, but this ceremony marked the culmination of 2 years of extremely hard work. It all began in the summer of 2008, when plans to close the small post office in the village store were revealed. Within days there was a public meeting and an action committee was formed to fight the plan.
Another day, another post office under threat. It's become an all too familiar sight. People fighting to save their village store. The post office just saying they're not needed.
81 branches in the northeast have been earmarked for closure, and today it was the turn of the residents of Humshaugh to try to save their branch. And they were able to call on some mighty military support.
It's normally a quiet Northumberland village close to Hadrian's Wall, but today Humshaugh was the centre of an unusual protest march. A Roman centurion, a troupe of musicians and a 91-year-old man on a tricycle were all campaigning to save the local post office.
A bit of a queue's forming. In fact, a big queue. You see, today, alongside people waiting for pensions, there's the odd wandering minstrel, the occasional tractor and a Roman centurion. To be more precise, a cross Roman centurion.
I was passing through on my way to Howstead's Fort Saturday and Sunday to be there. I learned about the situation and I've written a letter to Caesar complaining.
So if they close Humshaugh and Gilsland, there will be no cash point or post office between Heddon and the Wall and Carlisle. That's 50 miles.
Humshaugh used to have 7 shops, but now the post office is the only one, doubling as a village store. The post office wants to close it and replace it with a mobile office that would come every weekday lunchtime.
But for people like 91-year-old John Bradshaw, that's not good enough.
If I want any money, I would have to get on the bus and go to Hexham.
Point made, the protesters, tractors and cross centurion marched off. The post office says it always considers local geography and transport when making decisions.
Spirited village.
Sadly, despite that amazing demonstration, letters of protest and plenty of facts and figures from a survey of villages, the post office could not be saved. And so Pat and Rob Gray, who'd been delaying their retirement plans, decided towards the end of 2008 to put the business on the market. The trouble was, with no post office income to support it, would the shop be viable for new buyers? It was January 2009 when the post office finally closed. It was replaced by a van which called at the village hall at lunchtimes during the week. Shortly afterwards, a new action committee was formed following a public meeting in the village hall. That committee became the board of directors of Humshaugh Community Ventures Ltd, and it began the business of raising funds to take over and run the shop. A promotional DVD was made to help the cause.
Pat and Rob Gray have run the shop for many years, but they've decided to retire, and that's left the villagers with a bit of a dilemma.
Should the villagers allow market forces to decide the future of this vital service, or should they seize the initiative and take over the shop themselves?
How important is the shop to you?
Oh, it's hugely important. It's an integral part of the village. It would be dreadful if it had to close.
Everything, we would have to buy everything in Hexham, and what we were doing about newspapers, I don't know. But it would be very serious for us if it closed.
For younger people like us, the shop's vital for all sorts of things, and if it was community run, it would be more responsive to local needs. Children could top up their mobile phones on their way to school, and young mums could buy last-minute things for tea.
How about that all-important box of chocolates on the way home from work? For this to happen, we need the shop not just to survive, but to evolve and flourish. And with your help, it can.
6 months ago, we all met here, and we all agreed.
After a great deal of hard work, another public meeting in September was told that more than £35,000 had been raised to buy and run the shop, and that local multi-millionaire Graham Wiley had offered to help out and to supply workmen for the refurbishment.
We do need help. It is going to be run by volunteers, this organisation. You may not be a member and want to volunteer in the shop. That's fine. What we're seeking is that support. We know from everything that went on with the post office closure and indeed with the first meeting that we've got and again tonight on what is a truly awful night, that there's a lot of interest in supporting this.
Afterwards, dozens of people signed up as members. Others offered to become volunteers in the shop, and there were also generous donations of cash from villagers. With less than a month to go before the community took over the shop, the training began. A Saturday session in the village hall was followed by hands-on training in the afternoons after Pat and Rob had closed up for the day. Getting your head round the till proved to be the toughest lesson.
If say I'm buying something now for 87 pence, okay, and you've got 78, and you think, I should have been 87. Just press clear, and I'll clear that. All right?
P. 10p. I can see we're going to have fun here, you know.
And so, on Sunday, November the 1st, 2009, the people of Humshaugh finally took over their village shop. It was relatively painless, unless of course you were in a hurry and stuck in a queue. Everyone was very patient, probably because they knew they'd be serving behind the counter the following day. A couple of weeks later, the village hall was packed once again to say a fond farewell to Pat and Rob. There were gifts from the children at the school as well as from villagers. And there was an exotic cake to offer some ideas on how the couple could spend their retirement. The first few months went well under new management, and during the severe winter weather, with deep snow and temperatures around the -15 degrees mark, people realised more than ever how important it was to have a shop in the village. In the spring, Humshaugh Community Ventures Ltd had to leap to the assistance of that other great village institution, the Crown Inn. They took over the running of the pub for 3.5 months while owners Punch Taverns tried to find a buyer. That was to be really useful as the refit of the shop moved ever closer. And already there were signs of what was to come. These cracks in one of the shop windows had been there since the early 70s at least. Now, at long last, it was going to be replaced. Shortly afterwards, there was a chance to see an artist's impression of the new shop. Then work began on the ceiling and rewiring while the shop was still trading. And down on the Chester's estate, workmen had just finished the vast number of shelves and counters that were going to be squeezed into the tiny shop. Before any of that could happen, the shop had to be emptied, and all of the stock moved to a temporary home in the back room of the Crown. Although the short-term shop was small and relatively dark, as long as you didn't mind dodging the darts or picking up your paper from the pool table, it was an ideal solution for a few weeks, especially as the real shop was about to become rather busy. 3.5 weeks of hard work crammed into just 1.5 minutes. It makes it look easy. There was still the tricky problem of getting the chiller and freezer delivered.
Well, that's it. Yeah, do it this way, do it the easy way.
And there was the trip to collect some second-hand magazine racks and card shelves from a newsagent's in Newcastle.
That's it.
Then, of course, the shelves had to be stacked. The shop had to be moved back from the crown, and the final clean-up had to be done before the customers could be allowed back in. So, after all that hard work, what did the regulars think about their new shop?
I think it's very impressive indeed. The colours are lovely, the layout is so good. It was just wonderful to walk in, and it makes you proud to live in Humshaugh.
Oh, I think it's fabulous. It really is lovely. I mean, it really is lifted from the outside. When you come in, it's bright and clean and very light. So yeah, I think it looks fantastic. And I should be doing lots more shopping here.
It's what we needed, really. We're in the, it's 2010 now, not 1910. So it looks really nice. I hope it goes well.
I think it's fantastic. You've done a very good job, been a lot of hard work put in here. I know that. I've seen it every day when I've passed. And the staff are excellent. It's a lovely social place to be.
Fantastic, absolutely lovely, yes, absolutely lovely. It looks so much larger, so much lighter, and you can see everything and you can get to everything,
The main thing is it's a big relief we haven't lost it. But I'm still devastated at the post office decision and all that went down with that, which we're all disgusted with. I think it's not been very fair to this community.
I just think it's beautiful. It's made a real change. It's gorgeous. I really like it. And it's handy for me, which is great. And I didn't realise there was so much space at all. It's gorgeous.
It's absolutely fabulous, a wonderful asset for us all, and really a very big thank you to all the folks, including your good self, who've put in so much effort to make it happen.
Well, I think it is very, very nice. Very bright, very cheery. No? Lovely?
I think the shop is fantastic. Its refit is brilliant. There's much more space. It's more inviting. It's fresh. It's clean. I like the traditional look. And it's got a lot of stock in it. It's great. I'll definitely be using it on a daily basis.
Fantastic, fabulous. I think it's just fantastic, really. I think the colour, the brightness, but it hasn't lost any of its kind of individuality either at the same time. It hasn't turned into a kind of, it still only could be Humshaugh.
And everyone was true to their word. The shop was busier, the takings were up, and a few more people volunteered to help. All the shop needed now was an official opening.
Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Today is a day of celebration and a day of thank you. We're celebrating the fact that, 2 years ago we stood here and with all our signs protesting that we were going to lose our post office. We failed in that, but I think we all feel really proud that we've saved the shop. Not only we've saved it, but we now have a superb shop that we can all be really proud of. And it's thanks to everybody, thanks to the volunteers, to the customers, to the funders, thanks to just everybody who's made this possible. And I'm delighted that Graham Wiley can come along today and actually cut the ribbon, and I'll hand over to him.
Thank you, Dick. Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted and honoured to be asked to open the Humshaugh Village Shop. I read in the Courant yesterday that it was a small village shop. Well, it might be small in size, but I think it's huge in terms of its importance to the village. And I've done my little bit, but that was the easy part. The hard part was Dick and his volunteers, and I congratulate them for all the hard work they've put in to make it successful. I think with that sort of dedication and commitment and spirit, I think the shop will go from strength to strength, and therefore it's my delightful duty to now officially open the new Humshaugh Village Shop. Well, I think it's absolutely brilliant because, you know, these local villages, when the shops and the post offices and the pubs start to go down, to see the community spirit here and to see that the fact that everyone's pulling together to make sure the shop survives is brilliant. And you know, the amount of work put in to keep it going is just tremendous to see.
And what moved you to pitch in and help with all this?
Well, there's an interesting story there. Dick wrote to me actually last year, and I actually received that on my birthday. And I was just in a very good mood, so I thought, actually, you know, I'll do something for the local community, and I'll help out there. So I said to Dick, listen, whatever funds you need, I'll supply them. And he was obviously delighted at that. But more importantly, I think my staff came here and helped with the shop fit out as well, and they were happy to do that as well. So I think the shop was brilliant inside.
And what do you think about the future of a project like this? It's obviously relying on the community. Do you think it has a long-term future?
Well, judging by the reaction today, almost certainly, because, you know, I think the entire village has turned out just for this, just for me to cut me a ribbon. So, you know, they're going to support the shop. It seems well stocked. It seems quite modern. It's a pleasant environment, so I'm sure it'll be well supported. Yeah.
And that's the end. Except it's probably just the beginning. It's an amazing achievement that everyone involved can be thoroughly proud of. To use a well-worn cliché, it's been an incredible journey.